Hey, good morning, everyone, and happy Halloween. I am here to go over a few ways to integrate quotes into your text, like I told you I would do for anyone who missed class on Thursday when I went over the student sample, or if you just wanted a little more in-depth information on how to take longer quotes and make them into those smaller micro quotes that I was talking about. So I have a student sample here, and you'll see the untouched, unchanged student sample is in front of you. This is what was turned in. And I'm not gonna read the whole thing aloud to you because you can actually pause and read it if you'd like, but I wanna point out a couple things to show you what I'm going to change when I show you the sample, the same sample below it that I have modified for the quotes, okay? So the first thing I wanted to point out here, and this is a red flag for me, if I look at the paragraph and I see end of sentence and then quote, okay, this is actually what I would call an island quote. If you notice this whole quote right here from the text, it's not a bad quote. In fact, the quote itself is fine, and I'm going to use it when I show you how I fixed it, but it's all by itself. It isn't a part of any kind of sentence or context. It's just kind of floating out there on its own like an island, which is why I call them island quotes, okay? So she has that first one there, and then she does it again down here with her second quote, her second example, okay? We have another island quote just floating out there. And in fact, this quote is even a little more problematic because there's no context to set it up to begin with, okay? So this first quote has to do with the lottery, and I know that because she cited it right there, okay? She states the quote, and then she does a really nice job of telling us how that quote fits into the literary device, okay? That quote is foreshadowing, and why is it foreshadowing? How is it foreshadowing? And then she goes and gives me an analysis of why that foreshadowing is important, okay, which is really good. Down here, though, she's missing a transition. She talks about the children are even so blind to it that they just automatically start collecting their stones, which shows the blindness the villagers as a whole have for the tradition of the lottery, which is an excellent analysis, really, really good connection to the theme. But then she goes right into a quote about another story. There's no transition, there's no introduction. So I'm going to show you how to fix that, and I'm going to show you how I fixed the quotes. I used the same quotes. I didn't change the quotes that she chose for the paragraph. I just broke them up, gave them context, and put them into my own sentence so that those quotes worked as support for me. They weren't just floating out there into nothingness, okay? So let's take a look. I'm going to scroll down. And much like I did in class on Friday, I color-coded all the things in the passage to try to keep us on track as to, what we're talking about. So quotes are in green. Good analysis is in purple. And then I added like that kind of, beigey color there. That is the transition that I told you that she needed in that paragraph. And so I added that transition in there. And I'm actually going to walk you through this one. And then there's more purple at the end, okay? If you do that to your own papers, if you go through and you highlight your quotes as green, your analysis as purple, your transitions beige, this is kind of the format that the analytical body paragraph is going to take. You're going to have some introduction, which you don't need to, you could highlight that as your topic sentence. If you remember on Thursday when we met as a class, the topic sentences were like a bright yellow, okay? You could do that, but I'm not asking you to do any of this. I'm just giving you some suggestions if you're looking for a way to really kind of look into your writing to see where you can improve. See if you have all of these colors in your own paragraph, okay? So let's go through this one real quick and I'll show you what I've done. Both stories by Jackson and Vonnegut have aspects of foreshadowing to help portray the theme. Topic sentence, it's arguable. In The Lottery, for example, Jackson emphasizes how one boy, Bobby Martin, stuffed his pockets full of stones, while other boys soon follow his example. Okay? If you look, I used her same quote, but up here, she didn't have any context leading into that quote, right? She just plopped that quote in there. And it was on its own. What I did was I gave it a little more structure, some context. I added in the lottery, for example, okay? So I'm telling you as the reader right away what story it's from. And then I say Jackson emphasizes how one boy, Bobby Martin, and then I took the quote and I pulled it apart. I didn't change the meaning of the quote. The quote is still powerful, but I put it into my own sentence, okay? And I just used the bits of the quote I needed. I didn't use the whole entire sentence. I used the major parts of it that were appropriate for what I was trying to use it for. Okay, so down here, after we have the quote, then she talks about how that quote is foreshadowing. The foreshadowing that this quote gives is that the boys are collecting stones for the stoning at the end of the lottery, which is a tradition in town. And she doesn't stop there. She tells me why that is important. And she does this so well. It's one of the most powerful things about this particular paragraph, I think. She tells me how it connects to the theme. This detail from the narrator in the lottery reinforces the fact that nobody even thinks twice about what is truly happening when the lottery occurs time after time. The children are even so blind to it that they just automatically start collecting their stones, which shows the blindness that the villagers as a whole have for the tradition of the lottery, okay? Some of your papers, I put that your quote should never be longer than your analysis, okay? And here we definitely have less green and more purple, okay? Her analysis is very good. And then I gave her this transition. She did not have a transition from idea to idea up here. She went right from tradition of the lottery to a brand new quote. There was nothing in between, and you really need to have a transition, okay? So I added the likewise in Harrison Bergeron. Vonnegut uses foreshadowing to prepare the reader for his message. I also had to give the quote a little bit of context because, again, she just plugged the quote in there. There was nothing setting me up, getting me ready for that quote. So here I added, while George, one of the main characters, is oppressed by machinery in his ears. Oh, there should be a he there. Look at me finding mistakes. He begins to think glimmeringly about his abnormal son, who is now in jail. He is soon distracted. That should be... He is soon distracted by any kind of deep or critical thought when a 21-gun salute in his head stopped that. Okay? And then you don't need that punctuation. So I took that longer quote that she had up here and I broke it up into my own sentence. And then again, the analysis. The foreshadowing from this quote is that George didn't even realize that those gunshots in his head will be soon in the future the same sound he hears in the murdering of his son Harrison. It's a really good point. For this reason, this citation expresses the theme of blindly following tradition, because the handicaps do so much damage to the person that they cannot even realize nor remember what is going on in the present time. Okay, this is a really solid paragraph about one literary device, foreshadowing, and how foreshadowing works in both stories to portray the theme. All right, remember that you can go back to this student sample that I shared in class, and it kind of walks you through the same thing. Shows you what to do with quotes, shows you good analysis. The other thing it does, and this is just kind of a reminder, is it tells you what a good thesis statement should look like. So don't ignore, oh, I guess I can't highlight it, the red over here. For this particular paper, the thesis statement needed 4 things. Okay, 2 of those things were placement, but there's still 4 things to remember about a good thesis statement in this paper. You had the literary devices, you had the theme. It's all one sentence, and it comes at the end of your introductory paragraph. All right, I will share, I already shared this student sample with you. It is in the lesson plan portion of Schoology, so you have to go in the lesson plan, and then the link to this is in here. I will also share this one. And I think it's called Screen Sample of Quote Integration. And I will share that along with sharing this particular little tutorial about how to integrate your quotes into your paper. Okay, those of you that are revising, please make sure that your revisions are in by tomorrow night at midnight. And good luck. Thanks for watching.